Like, what other entertainment are people allowed to eat chicken wings and nachos while you're just pouring your heart out? You know, you're going through a divorce. You know, you have kids. You're talking about this. You're talking about that. And there's just a dude with a wing in his mouth. Just here you go, dipping it in more. I mean, I've been on stage where I hear more ranch, please. You're like, okay, this is where I'm at in my life.
No, that's intense.
Shit's about to go down. I'm feeling something in my spirit.
Chats and Tatts with Della, Vedova.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Chats and Tatts with me, your host, Della, Vedova. I don't know, man, with all the negativity sometimes on network television and news network, I become a small addict to listening to comedians. I just need something to make me laugh once in a while. So I'm messing around on Instagram. I came across this man's work a while back, and I can count every morning getting up and having a solid, good laugh. I ended up reaching out to him, finding out he's a local guy, and fuck, we're practically neighbors. And he was like, yeah, let's come on the show. So that's what happened. Here he is today. I want you guys to check him out. He's hilarious. He's been a musician his whole life. His life story is pretty dynamic, and I want you to hear the whole thing. So please welcome my guest today, Joe Sib.
Yes. Boom.
So, let's go here. What was your start in music?
Like when I first got into music?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I grew up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, Northern California.
Nice place.
Yeah.
Killer place to grow up.
Killer. Yeah.
Love it up there.
Yeah. My mom, sister still live in Northern California. And the thing for me that was unique, I grew up in the middle of nowhere. We lived on a ranch. So I never got to hear what the rest of the kids were hearing. Mm. And I had this little blue radio, I'd cruise around with, and it would pull in like Abba and like the Village People. And I was like, yeah, these are rad jams, right? And my parents used to have people over to the house all the time, and I kind of was the DJ, and I would play so much different music. So it was like Elton John, the Eagles, Carly Simon, like all those artists from that era. Yeah. And at a certain point, my mom and dad unfortunately got divorced. My dad moved to San Jose, which was over the hill about 40 minutes, and my mom stayed in Santa Cruz. And at that point, I'd never really heard any other music except my parents' music. And there was a skateboard park when I would go visit my dad. And at the skateboard park, that was the first time I heard music that wasn't what I grew up to. And it was Black Flag. It was 999. It was the Buzzcocks. And at that moment, I was just like, what?
There's a whole other world out there.
It's like, it felt like a spaceship landed, on my head. And I was like, what is this? And plus, skateboarding to me was everything. Like I played sports, but I never really I never excelled in basketball. I was a little kid, so like I didn't excel in basketball. I didn't excel in track or anything like that. But with skateboarding, it was an individual sport, much like stand-up, and I could work on it at my own pace. So when my dad brought me to this skateboard park, who ultimately that's where I met Steve Caballero and Gavin O'Brien and Corey O'Brien and all the heavy mofo, all the Bob DeNike, all of the the famous skateboarders from that era. At this point, I was just another little kid walking into this area that they were all in, and also walking into this new world. And I remember at that point hearing the sounds, because it was just towards the end of like the Van Halen, AC/DC era in skateboarding.
Yeah, not that transition.
Yeah, not that stuff wasn't being jammed, but like the Van Halen's first record was like a go-to in skateboarding. I remember hearing that not at Winchester, the skateboard park I went to, but punk rock at this point had made it in. So like for me, it was just from that moment on, skateboarding and punk rock were just everything that I was about. And I started, my first punk rock show that I ever went to was Social Distortion at San Jose City College. It was probably 1982. And I went with a buddy of mine, and it was like that era of Social Distortion where Mike Ness like wore the cap and the bondage shorts, and he had the eyeliner on, and I was like, another dude, first dude I ever saw with like a tattoo, like holy shit, like that was super gnarly. And I remember like at that point just being like, this, like I want to do this, like this is what it's about. And I'd go to more shows. And it was just every band came through the Bay Area. So like I was so lucky to see like X, Suicidal Tendencies the first time they came, Circle Jerks, every band from England that came over, the first time, like I said, like when GBH came over, Peter and the Test Tube Babies, SSD Control from Boston. Like I was a student of it. Like I didn't realize it at the time, but I didn't do drugs. Everyone around me, but I drank beers, so I drank a couple beers, Mickey's Big Mouth, let's go, but like, I wasn't like there to get loaded. So I was the kid that paid full price. Like it would be $7 to see like 10 bands. I would get there and I would see all 10 bands and I would be in the pit the whole night. Just like, I was so into it. And then ultimately what ended up happening was I was so into it that, at a certain point, someone was like, dude, are you in a band? And I'm like, no. And they're like, you should be. Like you're more into it.
Funny because that's how you became a stand-up.
Yeah, like it was the same thing. They were like, dude, why are you in a band? You're more into it than the band on stage. And that turned into like finally like going, yeah, I want to take that chance at getting into, being in a band. And the wonderful thing about punk rock was there was no like
firewall.
There was no gatekeepers. There was no one saying you couldn't do it. If anything, it was like,
And you didn't, no offense to punk rock, but one thing that deterred me from music is the Van Halens and the Bostons. Because you hear those fuckers sing and you're like, I'll never be able to do that.
I can't do that.
But then punk rock came along and it's just some young kid up there screaming. Maybe he didn't have the best voice, but people were loving it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, anyone can do punk rock.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I loved about that music and what I really felt it opened up the door for was it really gave a lot of people an opportunity to express themselves that if that hadn't have come along, they might not have gotten behind the microphone. We might not have a Jack Grisham. We might not have a Joe Strummer.
Yep.
We might not have a Joey Ramone. We might not, the list of musicians that might have not picked up a guitar or a bass or played drums.
You wouldn't have done it if punk rock hadn't come along.
Absolutely.
I mean, I were just going to, Van Halen concerts, you would probably maybe not have done it.
Because you're like, I can't do that.
Right.
But what I always say is that if I hadn't had that moment at Winchester Skateboard Park, 1981, December 27th, when my dad took me there, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you today, and I wouldn't for sure have had all of the amazing, last 35, 40 years of experiences I've had, whether it's Side One Dummy, whether it's being in Wax, whether it's 22 Jacks, whether it's working with all those bands. If it wasn't for that moment at Winchester Skate Park where I heard punk rock music.
That's a great story. It's a great story. It's weird in life how sometimes you don't know it when it's happening, but there's a moment that just shifted your entire life.
Totally. I always say this too, man. You never know how it's going to turn out. Yeah. That's the thing. Like you're going through life and you're like, you got your eyes and your sights on this. You're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to that. And then whether it's, you're like, oh my God, I got divorced. Didn't see that coming. Oh my God, I'm going to start a new career in this. That's the last thing, you think you're going to do. Or someone that goes back to school. It's like, dude, when there's time on the clock, man, no one knows how this is going to finish out.
I always say, have a plan, but stay flexible.
There you go.
I know every comic has had not a good night. And I mean, I'm just thinking about the level of self-love you might need to have to like recover from that. Like to be able to get up the next day and be like, yeah, I had a bad night. Going to work on that. New crowd tomorrow.
My favorite comedian is this comedian named Greg Girardo. And he said it's the lowest common denominator of entertainment. Like what other entertainment are people allowed to eat chicken wings and nachos while you're just pouring your heart out? You're going through a divorce. You have kids. You're talking about this. You're talking about that. And there's just a dude with a wing in his mouth. Just here you go. Dipping it in more. I mean, I've been on stage where I hear more ranch, please. You're like, okay, this is where I'm at in my life.
No, that's intense.
And dude, they're eating nachos. They're eating nachos and drinking some.
And talking to each other, half looking at you. You got to dig deep for that. It'd be so easy to just be like, that's it. I'm fine. Because rejection is human's greatest fear.
Yeah.
And on any level, you rejection from your mate, your dad, your job. And then to go up there, give them your best material, not have it hit.
Yeah.
That has to be the biggest strike to an ego of any career I can think of. That all comics go through. And you have to recover from that.
Yeah, and also
keep going.
I think also like I got this advice once from this comedian, this woman named Kira Satanovich. She's amazing. Look her up. She's one of those comedians that I feel should be so huge. She's so talented. She's awesome, super, super funny. But when I met her when I was starting, and she was always super cool to me. And one of the things she said to me once, I got off stage and it went really well. And she came over to me and I was like, wow. And she's like, Joe, you're really good tonight. I was like, yeah. And she's like, all right, forget about it. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, when you're really, really bad, I always tell you to forget about it. So when you're really, really good, forget about it and just be good the next time. Like, you can't wallow in, oh my God, I did so well
fucking
tonight.
Buddhism, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
That's Buddhism.
Yeah, you know.
They teach that
Yeah,
shit. They're
yeah.
just like, you can't become attached
Yeah.
to what's happening outside of you. That's just what's happening.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. That non-attachment, that's a key to really successful people to understand. That's great advice.
Yeah,
That's
and it really
cool.
changed everything because, you know, there'd be sometimes when like you come off stage and you got an extra skip in your step and you're like, wow, man. And then, you go to your Instagram. I wonder if anyone commented on that set. And, you read those comments that are like, oh man, went to the show. Like last night I did a show and they were like, we loved you. It was so great. And you read it and you're like, you're feeling really good. And then, you go, if you're not careful, you wallow in that. But then you also have the same attitude when, you get off a stage and I've had people, I remember one time I did a show in Portland and these two women came over and they said, yeah, when you came out on stage, we didn't want to like you, but you're okay. And I'm such a people pleaser. I was like, oh, awesome. Okay, cool. And then that night I'm laying in my bed. I'm like, we didn't want to like you, but you're okay. Like,
thinking about
it was
it.
such a kick to the nuts, and you just
People are
have to
mean.
let it go,
Yeah.
And also like in the age of social media, oh my God. I mean, I've gotten
Now they can do it remotely.
Oh, dude.
They don't have to tell you to your face.
People have said things to me online that are so gnarly that you have to like make an appointment with your therapist after you read it. You're like, okay, how did they even know to say that to me? You're like, is this a family member? Like, you're checking your kids' phones. Did you text this to me? Like, they know what to say,
Right.
and you got to let it go.
No, that's intense, man. Very intense. I think it shows you've got a lot of balls. I think anybody who gets up and is willing to give that a shot has got some balls, and I respect it.
You know what though, dude? I totally disagree. I don't think it's balls.
Just ignorance.
No, it's it's being delusional. It's full. I'm
You gotta
fully
be one or the other. If
Dude,
you're gonna be dumb, you better be tough.
Dude, I'm telling you right now. Yeah, I'm fully delusional. Like, that's what it is. Because you're saying you're the funniest dude in the room. You're saying you're the funniest person there. Okay, maybe there's I don't know. I don't know if it's balls. To me is like a firefighter.
Right.
Fires. The room's on. The whole place is coming down, and he looks over and he grabs the hose and he runs in. He's got balls. I couldn't do that. A cop running down an alley after someone that's done something terrible, and they don't even question it. The guy's got a gun and a cop runs right in. They don't even that's balls.
Right.
Me going on stage telling a bunch of jokes is ego. Yeah. It's totally ego driven. So ego driven, which in some ways is good, but in some ways is bad. But it's also a bit of being like, you're delusional and you're a little bit of like ignorance is bliss. Like, I'm going in there, here we go. It's like the dude that swims out at Pipeline and you're like, what is this guy doing? Does he realize that he's going to get thrown into the reef and he's like, yeah, well, here I am. Well, I'm out here and I'm going to boogie board. And you're like, dude, you're going to get worked. And then somehow or another they get barreled and they come in. Yeah. It's just, it's like when I watch those guys, at like just on the Eddy, that they just had over there in Waimea. These guys are pulling into the biggest waves ever. That takes balls because they're paddling into these hotel buildings that are coming towards them. But it's weird. They're in the zone of like, yeah, this is what I do and I can totally pull it. And I think when you're a comic going on stage and you grab that mic, it's a moment of like, yeah, this is okay, bring it.
Yeah.
Oh, this whole room, you got 1,000 people here? I got this. That part is the part where I think it does take some sort of confidence.
And a little bit of just crazy. I think a lot of people who are successful in a lot of different fields, there's a little crazy in there because
There's got to be.
Because if you're really practical guy or girl, you're just gonna look at the data and be like, nah, and you're
Dude,
gonna
on paper.
doesn't pencil
Think
out.
about it though, but if we think about it, I mean, that's like even with a musician on paper. So let me get this straight: you're gonna write songs that people are gonna like. Never. Okay, Dylan, move on. It's like a tattoo artist. Yeah, I'm gonna draw on people and they're gonna be stoked. Okay. No, I don't know about that. Hey, I'm gonna tell jokes. On paper, if you do have to have a little bit of the screws have to be a little loose because you literally are thinking I always love this when like you meet an artist and this is the type of artist I love when everyone's told them why it's not going to work being a singer, why it's not going to work as a comedian, why it's not going to work as this. And they go, I love this because I've done it. Well, no. I mean, that was them. It's going to be different for me.
All right.
You have to have that vibe.
Yeah, you do.
You know?
That's cool. What about, something I want to talk about is, I don't know, man. I'm a little pissed off right now a little bit with all the PC. And I look at comedians and I'm just, and it's like you guys, it used to be a comic, you were supposed to say offensive things. That was the root of most jokes. And everyone in the audience, I thought understood that that's a comedian making jokes. And now with the internet and all this shit, you've got these people on there like really kind of saying to the comedians of the world, don't offend, make me laugh, but don't offend anyone in this room. You're not allowed to offend anyone. The PC woke movement and the attack on comedians. What are your take on that?
I mean, for me, being a comedian right now, because I get asked that question all the time. My whole thing is that when you're saying things to hurt someone. Like right now, I could be joking around and I could be saying, oh, Aaron, it's great to be at your shop. And I could throw a bunch of burners at you about this room, or I could throw a bunch of burners about like your tattoos or, this or that. And they could be things that may be funny to people, but it also, if I'm picking you apart and I'm saying things that I know hurt you to get a laugh from them, for me, that isn't what I'm about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like whether it's your sexuality, your race, where you're from, like I want to do comedy that includes all of us instead of using the opportunity that this certain person is here or this group is here and I'm going to throw burners at them to get a laugh from everyone else.
You're not going to use them.
I'm not going to use them. Now, if
As
you're
a
at
prop.
I'm not going to use them as a prop, but I want to get done with a show and have people go, wow, man, I'm from a total different background than he is. I have a total different life experience than him. But you know what? For that 40 minutes that we were in there, man, we were all laughing together. And wow, I didn't realize that we have more in common than I thought before the show started. And wow, I was in a room with a lot of people that are from different walks of lives. Like, there was some Republicans in there was Democrats in there was gay people, there was straight people. Wow, we were all just laughing at everything together. Like for me, that's what I want to do. Now, there's other comics that want to go in and they want to say and as much as someone else has an agenda, they have their agenda of what they want to do and say. For me as a comedian, though, I want to have people come in and I want them to walk away laughing and taking a break from all the BS that's in the world, because the bottom line is everyone's just trying to divide each other. You watch the news, they tell us one thing, and these people are arguing, and then you follow this person on Twitter, and it's just so much. It's just bickering back and forth. It's just an ongoing. It's an ongoing circus of BS. Whereas if you're really out in the world, and I get to travel all over the country, and I do shows. I was just in Texas. I do shows in New York. I do shows in San Francisco. Like I'm around a lot of different people, and the bottom line is this: what I walk away from is a lot. The fact that they tell us that people push the agenda that we're not getting along. I know this, that I'm in a lot of rooms with a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life, and everyone is just looking for a moment to take a pause and laugh and be together. And I love that. And what I don't want to do is utilize that time on stage to put more BS out there. That's just not me. Now, if you're up front at the show and you're wearing a Hawaiian shirt and shorts and socks that don't match and you're interrupting the show, I'm going to say something, and I'm going to definitely use you as a prop, because that's a gift from the comedy gods that you're there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you
kind of asked for it.
Yeah, at that point, I'm going to have fun with you. I'm never going to say anything hurtful. Like
Right.
that's not my, because nowadays that's another thing too. We're in a world where I want to see a clip of a comic dealing with a heckler, and I want to see. I hate all that stuff. Like I don't want to see people yell at someone. Yeah. Okay, someone had too much to drink at your show, and they got excited, and they commented on your joke, and then they commented again, and then you asked them to be quiet, and then they kept commenting, and then you just throw a bunch of F-bombs at them and tell them that they're this and they're that, and then the crowd cheers, and then that person feels bad and they get up and they walk out of the show. I hate those moments. And that's those people are just looking for clicks, and oh wow, did you see so and so yell at that person? Oh my God, that guy yelled at that woman. He really put her in her place. Like I don't really.
I agree.
Like, come on.
I agree, but I still think that there's pundits out there that have made it a career to take sound bites from comedians' work.
Oh.
And manipulate it to a degree to
Happens
make that
all the time.
And it's like it's a joke. You're taking things I'm saying in a stand-up,
yeah, and
you're clipping it out and trying to frame me as that stuff is a little like, I don't know who you are out there. Quit it.
Yeah, well,
let these guys be creative.
Well, the thing is this though. There's a lot of great comedians that I love. Like Ricky Gervais. Like he says crazy shit. And I love watching Ricky. He's one of those comics. I'm like, oh my God, man. He just makes me laugh. But the thing is though, is that I understand he's a comedian. When you go to see a comic, you're not at the valedictorian speech at Stanford. And this is the guest speaker that has been chosen by the university to come out and speak to the future class of 2024. Right. Okay, in that situation, that's not the platform to throw out crazy humor. But if you come to the Ha Ha Club in Burbank, or you go to the Laugh Factory or the Funny Bone, and you're expecting the person on stage to say meaningful, thought-provoking, wow, I walked away with a different outlook on life, and see that you're in the wrong venue.
Yes.
You're in the wrong venue. You go to a TED Talk for that. Go to a museum. Go to an art opening. But don't come to see a comic. And the thing is, I know some people right now might be like, well, I paid the money, and we should see people that are not using that venue for. But that's not the thing. It's a comedy club. It's called Laugh Factory. And the bottom line is this: what you find funny and someone else doesn't, this is what's great. You can always get up and split.
Yeah.
And you know how many times, even for me as a comic, there'll be a comic on stage that is so not my scene. I remember once in particular being at a show, and a comedian was doing a whole bit about a dead baby and this and that, and I was like, whoa, I had to walk out. And not because I don't like the dude. It was just this isn't for me.
Right.
This part right here.
But you're not going to go online and
no.
give him shit about it. You're just going to be choose not to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
it's your personal choice.
Some people love, there's some people that love Slayer. Dude, man, when I hear Slayer, it gets me fired up. For me, it's too gnarly. Yeah, it's just too gnarl. It's too gnarl. I get off the train in Metallica zone, Rain of Blood, Slayer, I'll jam it, but I can't get through the whole song. I'm like, all right, I can get through this is too gnarly. That's just me. But I don't bag on it, and I don't feel like I need to go around and tell people why they can't enjoy it. Yeah. And the only thing I think that we've gotten to is everyone feels that they've got a voice now to tell you what they don't like. Yep. Whatever happened to mind your own business?
So, and that's why I brought it up.
Remember that when you were a kid? Mind your own business.
It's pretty simple.
Hey, how about this? Hey, man, I remember this crazy saying: if you don't have something good to say, then don't say anything at all. But now it's if you don't have something good to say it online, start a web page, do everything that you possibly can. And that's just not my scene. Yeah. That's just me personally. I don't want to add to the garbage pail of it all.
I agree 100%. And I've never made a negative comment online in my life. Ever. Have I thought negative things? Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to put it out there. I like bringing this subject up because of the world we're in now, and it seems like that's becoming a new hobby out there for certain, people. And, if you're out there doing that shit, man, look in the mirror and ask yourself a question. Why? Yeah.
I think what ends up happening is that with the power of the internet, with being able to go online, it's almost if you know, if you and I have a 6-pack between us, do you drink beer?
Yes.
Okay, so if right now there's a 6-pack of, you know, beers in front of us right now, and they're just sitting here, you know, we can go through this whole podcast and go, yeah, I'm not gonna have a beer, but at a certain point, it's just there. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna. You want a beer? Yeah, okay. Here's a Pacifico. Here, I'll have a Pacifico. So we drink one. That I think is what ends up happening with the commenting. It's like it's there. You're not gonna comment, but then finally you go, you know what? I am gonna say something because it was in front of me. And a lot of times, what people want to spew out there is negative. You know.
I think it's that. I also think there's just a lot of people out there, for whatever reason, never had a voice too much. Maybe they were, I don't want to label it, but maybe they were just a quiet little nerd, you know, through high school and never got the hot chick to go to prom with them or whatever. And now there's suddenly this, you know, they can get on a phone and their house all protected and they're just firing away. And I don't think that's the other thing. I think it can feel like there's a lot of those people out there, but I don't think there is, man.
I don't think so either.
I don't even personally know of any of my friends who have ever done that. Everyone I talk to is like you. Like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I put out positive shit. If I feel like I don't like something, I just walk away or go to a different fucking page. And so I've never even met one. So my suspicion is it's a very slim slice, but they have a very loud voice because they're out there spending more time doing it. Where guys like me and you, I don't sit online commenting on people's shit, you know? Yeah. So that's just something I like bringing up because I'd like to see the world.
No, it's a good question. A lot of comics get asked that all the time.
Category especially. I mean, you guys are trying to be funny and comedy's provocative. You're going to say things.
And I think the thing a comic's supposed to do, all the great comics that I love, they always push the envelope.
Exactly.
And they would make fun of everybody. And the only thing like, you know, I think Roseanne Barr once said, though, you can be funny, but it's not about hurting. You don't want to be hurtful with comedy because then it's like a weird, you know, you're using a gift to make people laugh, but you're hurting. Like, you know, when you're, you know,
but
like,
even if you are, you should be allowed to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You know what I mean?
Totally.
Leave that guy alone. If he wants to get up there and do his comedy that way, leave him alone.
Absolutely.
But I like your approach. I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I think for different comics, it's different ways they're going to approach it.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I also like I was going to ask you about that a bit too. I mean, being in this craft, this art form, if I was a guy like you, I would feel really proud of being a comic in this era with, you know, the negativity is pretty intense. The propaganda that our major news networks are pushing in our face there's just all that going on. So I just think it's fantastic that there are people out there like you that are really coming from a place of like, hey, let's make some people laugh. Let's bring some joy and some fun back into life. Let's be playful.
Yeah.
So I like that you see that. I respect that a lot, and we could use a lot more of that. So thank you for that.
Well, I mean, you know, at this time, man, we need to laugh. That's the one thing, you know, is that I'm not gonna be one of those guys that's gonna be so worried about what you say to not make people laugh. Some people are gonna like what I do. Some people are not gonna like what I do. But at the end of the day, you know who you are inside and what you're saying through the microphone and what your response is. You know, there's cheap laughs, there's hacky laughs. I mean, is in the world that a comic's in, they know the difference. You know, like if you're really doing it, you know what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah,
that's it.
On that, I just kind of a sideways question, but how do you deal with? You know, I have my way of dealing with media and propaganda. My way is basically I don't consume it. Like, I don't watch the news.
I'm same here.
Okay, I didn't
even know about, you know, the balloon.
I found out a friend had to tell me.
Dude, I didn't even know about the balloon or any of that stuff until a bro told me. He's like, he's like, oh man, what about that balloon? I'm like, what are you talking about? Because what ended up happening for me was it got so gnarly during the pandemic with the news, and I was in there, and I really started feeling myself just question everything and also just get super bummed and depressed and it was, I realized, oh my gosh, like whether than, you know, and it's not like one of those things like I have one channel I like more than the other. It was just I was consuming. It was no different if like right now you had Red Vine's licorice here. I will eat the whole entire tub and you'll bring another one in and I'll eat that. Well, I was just consuming so much information that it was starting to affect my feeling of humanity. And I was like, I don't want to walk down the street thinking negative thoughts and ideas about everyone around me, and that the world's coming to an end. And I'm also like, and I'll be honest, like there's a part of me that wants to live a little bit in the world of being naive, of that people, I still believe in humanity. I still believe that people are good. I still believe people love one another. I still believe that we can all get along, and sure, we're going to have differences, but I'm not going to, I'm not going to fight someone over it. Like, like, I don't care who you voted for, unless you're threatening children or animals or, doing something just that's fucked up, then, that's why we live here in America. Like, I'm not going to be that guy to run around and police everyone. And it's also exhausting. But I'll be honest, I slipped off the media train because I just got, it was too much, man. And, between your phone and between the TV and everything, it was just a lot. So
your food analogy is perfect. That's how I tell my wife and my friends, I'm like, you got to look at media like food. I mean, if you're eating McDonald's every day and you're wondering why you don't feel good and you're tired, then media is the same thing. It's consumption. It goes into your body. It affects your molecular makeup. Like, so, when I look at media, I'm very careful now. Like every bit I look at it and I'm like, how is this making me feel? Is it productive? Now, I realize it doesn't all have to be positive, but if it's not positive, it's got to be pretty concise, pretty truthful, and productive in some way. As soon as I lose that vibe, I'm out. I'm on to just an art page or a comedian or just something that's going to lift up my day. And the other thing you mentioned that I think is totally true is, obviously, we all want a peaceful world. We want people to be kind and polite. And the idea is that there's just so many people out there who are not. And that might be true. But it's another one of those moments where I ask my friends that believe this. My mother says this stuff to me, like how it's all so bad. And I'm like, when's the last time you actually met somebody that was like in their backyard executing puppies or, raping the neighbor's children?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're not out there. I'm not taking away from anybody who's been through something like that. But I mean, I'm 51 years old, dude. I've never met anyone in person that's done those things or witnessed that.
Yeah, because
I just think it's a small.
Yeah, but I also think like you have to realize, like I always. It's funny because my buddy who started Side One with me, he always used to say, he wanted to see a news show at the very end. It would say, "Now here's the good news."
Yeah, right.
Imagine that, you all day long, and I know there's a lot of bad things going on in the world, and I know there's a lot of bad people in the world. There's no question about that. I get that. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of injustices going on. There's a lot of different situations that are going on that are hellacious, that are terrible. But I do believe that we don't give the spotlight to any of the goodness that's going on. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good news that's going on in the world. There's a lot of people that are doing good, and there's a lot of people that are having, things that have happened that were bad, and now they're in a better situation. And I try to focus on those things. Yeah. And I know that, some of the viewers or some of the people watching this will be like, oh, you're living in some bubble. Well, okay, maybe I am, because if I don't, then I'm not going to leave my house, because I'm going to be so overwhelmed by everything that's going on, whether it's a new disease, a new variant. If I go here, I'm going to get mugged. If I go there, you're going to get on a plane. Oh my God, didn't you hear about this? What about, you're going to rent a car? Oh my God, you're doing a show there. Those people are crazy. Why would you go there? Like, I can't operate like that. No, I can't. I can't. Neither. All I know is this: I can operate to the best of my ability, and all I want to do is be the best person I can be. And I'm not a perfect person. I've got tons of flaws. I got tons of shit I got to work on with myself, but all I can do each and every morning is wake up and pray to God and just be like, yo, dude, I want to be the best version of myself today. What do I need to do? And that's all that's all I can do to get through the day to the next day.
I think that's all any of us can do. And just focusing on what's in front of you. You want the world to be a better place. Each of us has an opportunity in our own personal bubble every day to do something to help out, to be kinder, to be helpful.
Yeah.
Like, just deal with that. I mean, sitting in your house worrying about Chinese spy balloons, your worrying doesn't change what's happening, even though I think it's a bunch of propaganda bullshit personally. But even if it isn't, you talking about it, sitting in your living room, repeating the story to you and your neighbor and your husband all day long, back and forth, recirculating it, changes nothing. But you could go out of your house and see your neighbor trying to put a fucking lazy boy in the back of his truck and give him a hand. That's something.
Yeah. The thing that we got though is like, you only have so many days on this planet. Like, I I've said this before, like the life expectancy of a male in America is like 78 years. So it's like 26,000 days at the end of the day or something like that. That's not a lot of days from the moment you're squirted out, 26,000 days. In my point, I'm 55, so I've got like 8,000 days technically left. Do I want to spend every hour of those 8,000 days worrying about the Chinese spy balloon, or worrying about Russia, or worrying about why a ship went over here, or worrying about this or that? Like, there's plenty of stuff I could worry about, or I can go, you know what I need to work on? I need to have a better relationship with my son. That's what I'm going to focus on. Spy balloons, all that other bullshit. Let the nuclear bomb land on my head, because at the end of the day, I can't do anything about that. But what I can do is work on being a better father. I can work on being, a better person. Like I can control that. It's like
which actually has an impact.
It does.
If you
when you're being a dick. Yeah. You know when you're being a dick.
Just
anyone that tells you I didn't know I was being a dick. No, you're being a dick. That and
simple.
And I don't even know, like, there's so many different things, and nowadays if you question something, then you're a conspiracy guy, and then if you don't question it, you're complacent, and then I just know this. I can worry about what I can do right now, and worry about how I can affect others. And if that means being cool to someone that's in a situation they need help, whether it's a homeless person or whether it's just a friend, then I'm gonna try to focus on that.
We're on the same page. I didn't know that about you, but I was curious to see what you would say, because I think a lot of people right now are struggling with that, because the shit's coming at us like,
dude, I'm vaccinated. I got vaccinated, and then I got people yelling at me that I got vaccinated. I got people telling me that I shouldn't. Then I got some people telling me that I should. And dude, I'm just fucking trying to make it from point A to point B. And that's just me, dude. And I'm on the other side of it. My kids are older, imagine people that are in it right now with like little kids, and trying to make work, and they got a career, and they're married, and they're doing baseball, and they got sleepovers, and then they got this school. And I mean, that I don't even know, man. I'm just a dude that's just trying to make it from point A to point B and tell some jokes in between.
Imagine having that day, and then as soon as the kids are finally in bed, and you've had that day you just described, and just click on old CNN and spend the last hour of your day
just hearing everything sucks.
Yeah.
And there's always these people telling you everything sucks. And I know right now people are like, dude, that's not the way the news is. Because I listen to NPR, I listen to all of the different, different things. But it's, I don't know. I just always trip out when it's like, I'm going to tell you the most gnarliest, heaviest story, and then we're going to go and break, and then it's a Ford Tundra or whatever that you're trying to sell me in between. I don't know.
It's weird.
It's
weird.
There you go.
Tattoos.
I love the segue.
You got a couple tattoos.
Oh my gosh.
It's
I do.
Chats and Tatts,
I know.
man.
I know right now everyone that's been watching is like, I'm looking at his arms, and either he's got like spider webs or that's hair on his arms right there. No. Yeah. No, yeah, I do have tats.
Got a couple tats.
Yeah.
And
I got 2.
That's all right. Hey, look, but by the way, I'm heavily tattooed. I'm a tattoo artist. I've never judged people for having or not having. In fact, there's getting to a point in my world now where, like, my wife has 0 tattoos, and she's such a unicorn nowadays. I'm just like, respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole world was trying to get you to get a tattoo. You're married to a tattooer. You stood your ground. Respect.
I love that.
I do, too. I love her for it, and that's cool. So, and I think sometimes, not you, but sometimes when people get around me, and I'm like, oh, you got any tattoos? And they get kind of eyes go down and like, no. Like, the look to me is like, you think I suck, right? I'm like, no, I think it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, the people without tattoos are more rare.
Dude, I have to ask you a question right now.
All right.
I've had a pee since we started talking about...
Break.
It was probably...
Well, here,
like,
this is empty. Here.
Dude, can I pee and come right back? Is that lame?
You're a traveling comic. You know how to do this. Get it in there.
Are we allowed to pee?
This is gonna go in the episode.
Okay, I've had a pee since you asked me about what it was like to do comedy. Like, that was like...
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm gonna go.
Let's do it.
Check this bit out that I just got. So let me see here. So watch this. So this just happened. So I was doing a show, and this guy fell asleep in the front row.
No, he.
And this will give you an example. The crowd wanted me to just burn him, but check it out. Your face should be on a stamp. You're a hero. So that was kind of going down the road of like what, because when this dude at my show, I forgot where we were. He's literally like, they have these seats on stage and he's asleep. And I go, dude, and I'm like, oh my God, I could do an hour on this guy. And the crowd's like, do it. Like they wanted me to throw 1,000,000 burners on him. And then instead I was like, he's probably up 5 a.m. He's a dad, and then I'm like, you got kids? He's like, I got 5. I'm like, dude,
nailed it.
You know how many more people are going to relate to that, what you just said and did?
Instead of saying like, oh, dude, what, you can't hold your liquor, fucking you're lame, you're fucking, you can't fuck your wife. Like, dude, thanks.
Right.
Great. Cool.
5 kids.
Can't wait. 5 kids, dude. All right.
So, I want to switch it up a little bit to
Okay.
Chats and Tatts.
There we go.
We're going to talk about the tats.
Chats and Tatts.
You got a couple tats?
Yes, I do.
How about this? What was your first tattoo? How'd it go down?
Okay. It's funny that you say that because last night when I was driving home from a show, I was like, he's going to ask me about my tattoos. I only have 2 tattoos. Do I show it right here?
Yeah, you can lean into the camera.
There you go. Check that out.
Let me see. It says Lust for Life.
There you go.
Okay.
So I got Lust for Life. It was St. Patrick's Day. And gosh, man, it was sometime in the 90s. I was living in Hollywood. I had just come home from tour. And I'm a huge Iggy Pop fan. And he has a record called Lust for Life.
Right.
And if you know me.
Great song, right? There's that song, Lust for
Yeah,
Life.
Lust for Life. Here comes
got a lust
Johnny
for life.
again. Yeah. So,
Such a good song.
Yeah, such a great song. But also for me, I don't know. I was in my band Wax. Our bass player and I were always talking about getting tattoos, and I think he got praying hands. And
classic.
Classic tat, traditional, and with the rosary around it. And then I was like, I'm gonna get Lust for Life. And he's like, rad. And like for me, it was just like it kind of encapsulated like my philosophy with life. And there's also a book called Lust for Life too. But that song, just Lust for Life, living, your life ultimately is the best you can and just enjoying it. Like we just talked about the 8,000 days thing. So I went to Spotlight Tattoo in Hollywood, and at the time, there was Bob Roberts, like he was the owner, and I went in there and he wasn't there, and his son Charlie was in there.
Okay.
And I remember I go in there. It was a lot like
what year are we talking here?
We're talking. Let me see. So this is probably like 93, 92.
It's probably about the time I went in that
It's
shop.
about 92, 93.
Okay.
1992, 1993. It was right there on Melrose, and I went in there, and I remember,
one of the oldest, most respected tattooers and shops in all of LA.
Yeah. But at this point, I knew Spotlight just from being in Hollywood as much as I was. Everyone told me, dude, if you ever get a tat, go to Spotlight. And I knew who Bob Roberts was. I knew like, oh yeah, he's the guy. Like I knew that because in my circle of friends, everyone, had tattoos. But when I went in there, and you'll get a kick out of it because I was one of those kids where I came in, I'm all stoked. I'm all, what's up, man? And right away, Charlie was just bombed. He just looked at me like, who the fuck is this guy? Like you could just, I remember he was just sitting there and I'm like, hey man, we want to get, I want to get a tattoo. And he's like, he just looks at me and he goes, all right, what do you want to get? And I go, I want to get some writings on. I fucking hate doing writing.
You got the classic experience.
And I'm all, it's okay. So I'm like, oh really? And from knowing me right now, I'm like, okay, that's cool. All right, so you hate doing writing? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. I go, well, I was thinking of getting on my shoulder. Oh, writing on the shoulder. I hate that. What do you want to get? And I'm like, I want to get Lust for, oh, why? Why? Oh, God. I hate, he must have told me that time. He hated doing writing. He said everything except I hate tattoos and I hate you. Like I was like, okay.
It was implied.
Dude, but he made it clear he didn't want to do the tattoo. And then my other buddy is like, yeah, I want to get praying.
He's just terrified to even mention his.
But I think my buddy that was bass player in Wax, Dave, and he goes, I want to get like praying hands. And he was like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Like he was into that. And I remember.
You're like, I'll take that too.
Yeah, and I remember, I'll never forget this as long as I live. If I get this story right, he's bummed, he's pissed, but like, when you've ventured into something, there's like no point of no return. He's like, he's just walking around the shop and he's like, I'm just fucking hungry. And I'm like, hey, man. And I don't know if you remember this. I go, hey, we were thinking of going to California Chicken. Shout out to California Chicken. It was my favorite restaurant on Melrose. They have these wraps and like this pink pasta salad. Like if you're up in Hollywood, like right now, if you've watched this podcast, and you're like, you know what? I'm not a fan of Joe Sib, not a fan of anything he said. Do me a favor, go to California Chicken on Melrose Avenue because it is the best. It has like chicken and the pink pasta killer. Okay. So at that point, I go, hey, we're going to go down to California Chicken.
Let's get this guy some food.
And that's what I said. I go, dude, why don't we pick some? He's like, Cal. And even that, he's like, fucking hate Cal.
hate that.
That's what he said. He goes, I fucking hate California Chicken. Fucking hate that pink pasta. He was like, I was like, really? You hate the pink pasta? He's like, I fucking, like, I'm like, well, look, I'm going to go down and get you some food. So dude, we go down and like my friend Dave's like, I don't know if we should go back. I'm like, no way, dude, it'll be cool. So we all get our food. And we come back and I remember I give him his food. And he's sitting there. He's eating his wrap. And he's like kind of eating it. He puts it down. He's like, all right, sit down. And I sit down. And he's like, let me see your shoulder.
I hate shoulders like that.
Yeah. He's like, I hate it. He's like, and he drew this thing on that clear piece of paper.
All right. Acetate.
And he puts it on.
Yeah.
And I remember he kind of put it on and he had like it was going to like have a sparkle to it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm a fan of the sparkleness to it. He's like, all right, so he erased that. And then he just puts it on, he positions it. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I love that. And he's like, all right. Took a couple bites of his thing and then put the gloves on and banged it out.
Yeah.
And then
calmed down and did it.
Yeah, but the food made a difference. So
He was
I
just
should have gotten
hungry.
California Chicken. But yeah, so like I got the Lust for Life tat and it was rad because then my buddy, and I want to say maybe there was another artist in there that did my buddy. And then, or he might have done both of us, but
It wasn't Juan Puente, was it?
God,
That's a buddy of mine that worked there for a minute.
yeah, I don't know, but it was, he got his tat and then,
That would have been too early for
yeah.
Juan, man.
So then anyway, long story short, we're like, okay, we're out of here. So that was my first tat. And, the thing that was funny was, I got this Lust for Life tattoo on my arm. And then my good friend, one of the first guys that I ever met in LA, first guy I ever jammed with, first guy, like I was in a band with, he's a ripping guitar player, but at this point he was playing. Oh, sorry. At this point, he was playing. Hey, what's up? I'm gonna talk really quietly. So a buddy of mine, that the first guy I ever jammed with, one of my first roommates and everything, his name's Chris Shiflett, and he's in the Foo Fighters. But before he was in the Foo Fighters, we started a band together for a second, and then he's an amazing player, and he ended up also joining the band called No Use for a Name, and had a great run with them. And then he was in my band for a long time called 22 Jacks, and then he was out of both those bands, and then he ended up getting in the Foo Fighters, and he's been in the Foo Fighters for I guess 30 years or something like that, like crazy. And Chris and he had tats. And when he saw it, when I go, dude, look, I got a Lust for Life tat. And he's like, dude, I love that. And I forgot at one point we were out on the road. And I think at one point he was like, dude, I love that. And he ended up getting Lust for Life across his stomach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
Respect.
he has a ton of tats, but he'd be another guy you got to have on your show because he's got when we were kids, he was like the first dude I knew that got like a back piece. And then he had like traditional stuff. He has I want to say he has a Clash tattoo. Like he has some really cool shit.
Yeah.
I'll hook the two of you guys
Please
up
do.
because he's one of those kind of guys. And he's like such a rippy musician in the Foo Fighters, but he's also like, he can play country, he can play rock, he can play punk rock. He's just such a ripping. He's like, I always refer to him in the Foo Fighters as like Dave Grohl's secret weapon because he just rips. So, and when we were kids, we all knew he ripped way better than us.
So it's not surprising.
Yeah, like you know how you have a kid like growing up in San Jose watching Steve Cavallero skate. I was like, yeah. Like
he'll
it's
go
like,
pro.
It's like Michael. It's like having Michael Jordan around you.
Wow.
Chris Shiflett on guitar, same thing. You just knew, like even when we were in a band together, you knew like you're just killing time until something bigger is gonna come because
He'll leave us eventually.
You're, no, not even leave us, but you're just better than us.
Right,
He's the type of guy. Like I remember he'd sit in a car and a new song would come on, and he would just at sound check be able to play the whole song. You're like, dude, yeah, just so gifted. The second tat I got was at a place called High Voltage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
That wasn't that Cat? That's Cat Von D's shop.
Yeah, and I wrote down the dude's name because his name was Jeff Ward, and I guess now he's in Top Notch in Chicago.
Okay.
So the next tattoo is super different in the sense that I had my kids, I was like married, and I was full on dad, and my daughter was always doing art. She's always drawing stuff, and she's like she like directs videos now and totally photographer, just killing it. Her name's Chessa, and she's named after the bass player of the Ramones, CJ Ramone's ex-wife. Like, so like the Ramones were like everything to me. So her name's Chessa. She's an amazing video director. She's doing all this killer stuff. You can check her out on Instagram. Some of her stuff's a little too risque for like, your kids, like the other day I was looking at her, so I'm like, dude, does everyone have to be naked? Like, what are we doing here? Like, and I realized, oh shit, you're pissing me off. I'm old and you're doing what you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was that guy. Like, I gotta talk to her. Like, what the hell is going on? No different than when my dad heard like Code Blue by TSOL. Like, oh, Joe, we're gonna play a song about necrophilia at full volume. I'm like, yeah. Like, I realized, oh my God, she figured out the code to piss off dad. I'm like, you're ruling. Keep doing it. Just I can't follow you. It was like so gnarly. But anyway, she was, as a kid, she would draw all this stuff and have it all around the house, and then she'd come to work with me at Side One Dummy, and she drew this heart, and I had all her artwork all over my office, and she drew this heart one day, and I was like, oh my God, I love it. She colored it in, and she put the arrow through it, and like the arrow was going the wrong way, and it was just like all the imperfections were so cool, and I had it on my wall. And I used to always be like, that would be a great tat. That'd be a great tat. And then all of a sudden, like, I go down, and my friend Taylor, who worked with me at Side One Dummy, she was working at High Voltage or knew the people there. And what I love about this tat is, like I said, like the arrows are all wrong. And it's
the
like,
feathers should go the other way.
Yeah. And the guy was like, I'll fix that. I'm like, no, leave it. Yeah. So I got this tat, and I'm all psyched. I'm like, rad. And I remember I come home that night, and my daughter's in bed, and at this point she was probably, maybe like, she's like 10, maybe. She's still a little kid. And I come in, I wake her up. I'm like, hey, Chess, what's up? And she's like, what's going on? I'm like, and when you get a tat, it's like the little blood things over it. And I'm like, hey, and I'm like, check it out. Look what I did. And I pull it off, and she just looks at it. She's like, Dad, why did you do that? And I'm like, it's going to be there forever. And I'm like, I know. And she's just like, looked at me like, Dad, what are you thinking? And then I remember the next morning, my son's like, oh my God. Like, he's looking at the tattoo on my arm. And, it was funny because then, like, I think he was like, are you going to get something I drew? And I'm like, gotta draw a little bit better, buddy. Gotta work on that. Yeah. I was like, no. But so, for me, I'm sure it's a letdown to the viewers. They're like, that's all he's got. But I don't know. Both of these tats, this is really, for me, like, it's kind of like what I said at the very beginning. Terry Root, what he said to my dad. I really want to take a snapshot of where I'm at in my life. Yeah. And like, when I think of this one, it was like, I was in my band. I was signed. I had moved to LA, and like, it was on Melrose Avenue. Like, you can't get more Hollywood rock and roll than that. Yeah. And then this one is really, like, when I look at that one, it just reminds me of another part of my life, being a father, being this person that I made, with another person, and oh my gosh, here they drew this, and I'm going to get it on my body for the rest of my life. So
that's right. And you're right. That's one of the coolest part about tattoos is the timestamp that it puts into your body. I mean, I've forgotten half of my life at this point. My wife will remind me, or a photograph will come up on my iPhone. I'm like, fuck, I don't even remember that vacation. I was there for 2 weeks. Totally forgot about it.
Yeah.
I can look at any tattoo on my entire body. I know exactly where I was, who I was, what age I was at, who the guy or girl that did it. Just all snaps into focus. So I personally think that's the coolest part of tattoos. It's not how rad is your tattoo and is it on the cover of a magazine? That's cool too. But that to me is what I love about tattooing.
Can I ask you a question? And I've always, and tell me if this is like, in the world of tattoos, like disrespectful or whatever. So like, is it bad? Like, so I had that one, this is like so old. Is it bad when you ask someone like, hey man, can you go over it to brighten it up again? Or are you supposed to let it kind of like fade? Is that
not bad? You can ask. I mean, and sometimes you can't find the artist or maybe the guy.
But like, do I have to go back to Charlie?
Usually
I don't want to do that.
You don't have to.
Because I don't. No offense, Charlie, but like I don't know, man. I guess I can get him California chicken again.
Yeah, just bring him some food.
I remember Charlie. Right now, he's watching this, or he's I fucking hate that guy. Yeah, maybe that'd be funny to go back.
Or what you do is you call him up and be like, "Hey, I can come up, buddy, but do you care?" I have people call me.
I like asking.
Yeah, they call me and they're like, "Dude, I'm in North Carolina. I mean, can I?" I'm like, I always absolutely. You can have anyone you want. Touch that up.
Do people touch stuff up?
Yeah.
There is a part of me though that like, I don't know. I feel like instead of getting it touched up, it's almost better to get something else because it's kind of like, it'd be like if you and I had if I had the original pressing of like an album that you.
I like leaving
love.
them old and faded.
Yeah,
That's me.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
I'm going old and faded.
Go old and faded. Just get something else.
Yeah.
And we will. It sounds like maybe not today, but we'll be hooking up again sometime in the future because Too Rad to Be Sad. Is that it? Is that what's on your mind? For your next piece,
dude. So I'm the cat's out of the bag, but my buddy Matt Hensley's gonna hate me. But Matt Hensley, the accordion player for Flogging Molly, that was like signing Flogging Molly when I was at Side One Dummy. It was such a game changer and such an amazing time for just in life.
Flogging Molly was like the musical fuel for tattoo shops for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Every shop all day long, Flogging Molly.
Yeah.
I love them,
I had a lot to do with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. That band changed my life. It was the first band I ever signed that, sold. I mean, that blew up like that. And it was such a unique thing because, they were a band that no one would take a chance on. My partner and I were a record company that Side One Dummy at that point, we were competing with Fat and Epitaph. No one wanted to be on Side One. Like everyone was like, we love you and Bill, but we want to be on Fat Records because we got Fat Mike and we love, Epitaph, but we love you guys, but we can't put a record out with you guys. So we just couldn't, we couldn't push it through. And then everyone had passed on Flogging Molly and I knew Matt Hensley from being in Wax and hanging out in Chicago with him. And he's like, dude, I'm in a band. You should come and see us. And I went to see him and there was no one there. And I remember the next day I came into Side One to, when I say came in, it was like an office, a little teeny room. I go, Bill, we got to see this band Flogging Molly. He's like, dude, tell me about them. I'm like, I can't even, they're playing in Vegas. So we flew to Vegas and, didn't have any money to get there. Just, okay, let's do it. We get there and they played again. And afterwards we went backstage and met the singer Dave and we said, we want to put a record out. And his response was, why? Everyone's passed on us. Why would you want to do that? He said, oh my God, that was terrible. I go, dude, we were like, we love it. He's like, all right. And Dave King always said the best thing, they needed a chance and, to have someone do it. And we needed a chance. And it was just one of these relationships that we did so many albums with him and but like Drunken Lullaby is probably the record in Float, and those records just blew up, and so many first times with them as a record company. First time with Conan O'Brien, that was amazing. First time New York City, like just so many. They just exploded.
It's a unique sound.
Yeah, it was totally different.
It was totally different.
And Matt Hensley, he lives in Carlsbad, and him and I are bros, and now I'm his neighbor, and he plays so much different music, and he has a buddy named Sean Wheeler. Do you know Sean Wheeler from Throw Rag? Guy's out in the desert, big tall guy, tatted, another killer dude. And I should hook you up with him too, dude. I've gotten you like 3 guests for the show. I got
come on, man.
Sean from Throw Rag, Chris Shiflett from the Foos. We got to get Hensley in here. He's tatted. He's so rad.
Yes.
And then what I was gonna say was I went over to his house and he's like, hey man, can I play you some music? And he laid this music on me, and there was this one song, and I told him I wouldn't talk about it, but I have to. It's so killer. It's a brand new band that he's like starting on the side with Sean, and they had this song called Too Rad to Be Sad. And it just, dude, I swear, I almost got tears in my eyes when he played it to me because it was such about like, there's a line in it like, don't let future tripping steal your day away. And future tripping is when you are sitting there, kind of like what you and I were talking about.
Yeah, it's full circle.
And you're just thinking about, what could go wrong and this and that. And did I do that? You're future tripping. And that term just hit me. And then the lyrics of the song, and then about how life, it's too rad to be sad. Yeah. And I was like, dude. And I told Matt, I go, I'm going to get that as a tattoo. And then he said to me, maybe we could do, he's all, dude, he calls me Sibido. Sibido. He's all, let's get it together. He's all, wait until we can get it together. So maybe him and I I'll come back for when you get him on the show.
It's
but
on.
he's an amazing. I mean, he's a skateboard legend. He's a legend here in San Diego. His dealings with flogging Molly's in a court. I mean, this guy.
All right.
He's amazing.
I love this idea. So
Okay.
that's even better. We'll do it that way.
Yeah,
Maybe. We'll
I'll
see
come
how this all
back.
plays out. We'll come back, bring him, and I love that saying. That is.
It's a rad saying, right?
Dude, it's Buddhism 101. Like if you can't walk out, if you've forgotten to just look at the sky and the fucking tree that's to your right and just kind of pause at least for a second to be like, well, yeah, I do have that problem tomorrow, but look at the tree's still there. The clouds are coming. Man, look at these fingers. They all work. Like there's so much to be happy about.
All I want to do, honestly, man, is it like, I just want to know, I just want to do this. When I'm taking my last breath, I want to be stoked. Like when it's like I'm ready to bail, because I want to be able to have got my money's worth. I want to be like, I mean, that's what I want my epitaph to be. Like, here lies Joe Sib, and it says in quotation, I got my money's worth. I don't want to be taking that last breath and going, oh, I didn't spend that one day going surfing. I didn't call that one friend and tell him that I love him. I didn't try to, make this person's days better. Or, how many times, dude, I was talking to my buddy the other day, and I'm doing these shows out in Vegas, and this guy doesn't get to travel, and he's always working, and he's busting his ass. Like, oh man, I'd love to go, but I just couldn't go. I go, why?
Yeah.
I go, dude, I'll hook you up a room. You get a place to stay. I go, dude. He's like, yeah, but I just don't know. And I go, dude. So when we're all said and done, and you're getting dropped into the ground, or thrown into that barbecue, and then your ashes spread, and we're all bummed. Are we going to be going like, dude? You know what, man? I really love this dude. You know what I loved about him the most? It wasn't the times that we hung out, but it's that he paid his mortgage on time, and he was never late on a bill, and he always, dude. That's not the stuff that you want people talking about. You want people talking about, dude, remember the time we went to Vegas and he took his shirt off and he was running around in his chones, and then he ran into the show. Like that's okay. Maybe not run around in your chones, but like at least when you're younger, that's always fun to do. But when you're older, you got to keep your pants on. But like that's the type of stuff you want people to be talking about. Yeah. Like I always say, like when it's all said and done, dude, like I already know the song that I want played at my funeral. Like when you're gone, everyone has to wear a Hawaiian, or you're not allowed in. Everyone has to do a shot, and they have to drink. And if they're like, well, dude, I'm not doing that anymore. Well, you got to bail. And then the last thing is you got to play Come On Eileen by Dexy's Midnight Runners, and you got to wear a Hawaiian shirt and rage.
Cheers to that, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to plan my funeral. I haven't really thought about it, but I got to make a
Gotta
plan
be a
like
rager,
that.
dude. Yeah. What I'm thinking of doing is faking my death so I can show up at the party. What's up,
Dude? On that note, look at this tattoo I got for this reason.
Okay.
What's that say?
Let me put. Dude, you ready for this?
What's that say?
It says, "Fuck it." Wow, dude.
That's always been my mantra.
Dude, I love how
it means
wow.
It means it. Well, it's kind of like I put it so when my praying hands come together. It says it, but it means the same thing. I mean,
I love that.
Yeah, there are moments where we do have to pay our mortgage and stuff, but there's a lot of moments where you could just say fuck it and just it's not going to kill you.
Sometimes you gotta say fuck it.
You gotta.
Okay, now I'm not gonna say you can't. Once you get the mortgage, you can't say fuck it, because then you're gonna fuck yourself. But where you can, I think, say fuck it is those moments where it's like even like the other day, like my daughter called me, right? And a friend of mine told me a long time ago, hey man, when your kids call you, they're gonna reach out to you, and a lot of times they're gonna reach out at maybe an inopportunity moment, but you gotta be like, no way, man, what's up? You got to be there for it. And I have struggles with both of my kids, but what I've learned is that like sometimes you got to say fuck it, because the priority in your life, it's right underneath your nose, and you've got to fucking make it happen. Yep. And those struggles with raising a family, or I think sometimes you got to say fuck it to all of the things around you that takes your focus off what's really important.
100%, dude.
I love that you got that on your hands, dude.
Yeah, it reminds me once in a while. Oh yeah, nice. That's another thing tattoos do well. This watch says now. That's another reflex back to what you were talking about.
Yeah.
I always look at that. I'm like, oh yeah, what's wrong right now, Aaron?
Yeah.
Oh wait, nothing. Then fucking too rad to be sad, bro. Smiling.
God, Matt, I love it right now. Matt Hensley's like, I told you to wait. Now you're already, I love it. Isn't that a cool saying?
It's a good one. I like it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get it too.
Dude, we'll all get it.
All three of us get it.
Thanks for having me, man.
You're welcome.
Did I do good?
You killed it.
You know?
Yo, this will be the best episode ever on Chats and Tats.
All right. Hey, now,
I'm confident.
Can I plug a show here in San Diego?
This is your chance. We're going to talk about
Okay.
your shows, where to find you. Go.
Okay. I would love for all of you to come if it's possible. And I hope this isn't past the air date, but it'll be June 14th. I headline La Jolla Comedy Store. June 14th. La Jolla Comedy Store. You guys are all invited. Come to the show. It'll be amazing. I'll be doing that. And then if you want to check out any of my shows in between then, you go to joesib.com and then follow me on Instagram, Joe_SIB. And you can see like all of my clips and all of my stand up there. That's probably the best way to find me. And, come out to a show. And if you do come to a show, and if you want to email me at joesib, the number 22 at Gmail. If there's anything you want to hit me up, joesib22 at gmail.com.
Cool. And we'll have all those links in the show notes as well.
Sweet.
In case any of you missed them.
Shocking.
And definitely the Instagram. I mean, I think that's a great spot. If you just want to get a little sampler, a
That's
little
it.
appetizer
That's it.
of you,
Yeah.
know, and then if you like it, then figure out where you're going to be and get the whole meal.
Yeah, that's totally the sampler. And you can, and then like I released this special at the end of the last year. It's called,
There's a link on your Instagram
Yeah, there's a link
page,
on my
yeah.
Instagram. It's called You Don't Even Know. And basically it's, I call it a mini special. It's a 20-minute special just so you can get like a 20 minutes of my stand up. And I'll be recording a new special at the end of the year.
Okay.
But, or towards the end of the year. But yeah, it's all there. And hopefully you come to the
Save
show.
this date. I'll talk to you later. November 11th. We're going to do that. We're going to do that event.
Okay, so we're doing the event. I wanna host it, bro.
I mean, it's in November, but
Yeah.
I'll text it to you.
Yeah, we got hit by bad weather.
We
last-
did.
Yeah.
And it's better. I got it all. It's going to be better. So this is perfect.
Okay,
But
cool.
We'll do that.
I'm
for
stoked. I'm stoked.
Sure. My
Dude,
friend.
thank
Boom.
you so much, man.
That
Really
was
appreciate
cool.
you having me. This was fun.
It was great. Thanks for coming.
Honored to be here.
I don't know. Go check him out, everybody. Man's hilarious. Makes people smile. The world could use more of it. Thank you for that.
Thank you, brother.
All right.